I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
As you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
I do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety on the clock, so I'm ready.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
When I was a casual, I thought as a casual, I spoke like a casual, and I looked at boxing like a casual. But when I became a hardcore, I put away all those casual things. This is Michael Rogers, and welcome to Bodywork Boxing. What's going on? This is Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. We do body work. We don't take things for face value. Coming off a beautiful evening of boxing on August 14th, 2021. There was so many matches going on. You know, we had Lorenzo Truck Simpson headlining the card, which he got the job done. I think Buddy quit like after round 3, going into round 4. I think he quit. That was down in the A-Town Showdown, where Ness actually streamed that fight for us. Salute to Ness for being I think he got the best show right now. You know, I respect his work. I admire him from afar. He's like a mentor from afar. And I hope that they keep doing wonderful things. We had DAZN. They had like an undercard earlier in the day. And you got to see a guy named Farouk. Very beautiful, man. His head movement and his fluidity was just beautiful. He just put on a boxing clinic. He got the job done. We had Buatsi, who, man, showed, man, he's beautiful boxer, man. Boxing at his finest, man. That dude put on a clinic by a guy who was faced with some challenges. Believe he was deaf. So, you know, it was interesting to see how they communicate and some of the things that they implemented. You know, the little abstract little things like shaking the rope ring to signify that the round was over. You know, to the guy, because not only was it a language barrier, but then it was also a bigger language barrier by the gentleman being deaf. We had him on that DAZN card. Flipping over to ESPN, we had the Rigo Casimero fight, in which Rigo, you know, he did what Lara did to Canelo. Even though Lara engaged with Canelo a lot more than Rigo did, but there were times when it looked like he did kind of embarrass Casimero. He threw him into the ropes. He was pot shotting him. You know, I just think that in today's era, I had a video about it earlier this week. In which I spoke to the fact that you can't be leaving these fights up to the judges. That's not a fight, you know. You gotta look at your age and where you at, and if you got that belt, where would you take the culture? Who would you challenge? Who would you face? You got this other guy who, you know, his stock is high and rising, and, you know, he wound up getting a decision. I don't know how Rigo thought that he was going to be able to win, because according to CompuBox stats, the guy outlanded him. I think it was like 44 to 47, and the commentator had also commented that for Casimero, that might be one round. So you could see Casimero's frustration throughout the fight, and you could see Rigo trying to be overly sportsman, which I didn't really care for, all of the touching of the gloves and you playing these games. So I kind of Had a little frustration for Casemiro as well, although I don't think that really equated to a victory. Because the way I see it was the punches that Rigo were able to land when he did engage were more cleaner and effective. I think early on, like the first round or two, I think Casemiro did land some heavier shots. So maybe, when it was neck and neck and Rigo was, running around the ring the whole time. I think early in the fight, like the first 3 rounds, I think Casemiro was more effective and clearly was able to do a little bit more damage than Rigo. But I think if you look at the fight comprehensively, I believe that Rigo won the fight. It was not a fan-friendly fight at all, which I think they consider that. They consider that. Like, where are you going to take this and, if you got this belt, you would regain this belt, what kind of fights are you going to show? What is it going to do for our revenue? And the other reason why I say, okay, I'm cool with the verdict is because when you have a challenger up against a champion, it's up to the challenger to go and take the belt from the champion. You might not necessarily have to bring the fight to him in the style-wise. Like, you might not have to use pressure, but you have to impose your will, and you got to break the champ to get the belt. And I don't think Rigo did that, even though I think that he won the fight.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
So, at the end of the day, it's about business. And then we had Aegis and we had Virgil, who I call Virgil, the Dark Horse Rising. And I wish his name was Piranha, because like I said in my other video, he's like a piranha. You smell blood, he gonna do what he need to do to get you up out of there. Very good fight. I think Virgil put the 47 on notice, which I thought he'd been put the 47 division on notice. And that he's nothing to shake a stick at. My question on my Dark Horse Rising video featuring Virgil is, should we get a Virgil in boots? A lot of people say, I heard somebody say that boots would wash Virgil. I disagree that it'd be a wash. I was leaning towards boots, but Virgil showed me that he has a good upward mobility, type style. He likes the pressure, but he also showed he's very effective with the jab. I've seen one of the best jabs in the division last night, and I really would like to see boots. I mean, marination on these fights and fights, fighters getting injured, fighters catching COVID, fighters taking too long to where the thrill is almost gone with some of these fights that we want to see. Marination is like, it's putting a ugly twist on boxing in the culture right now. That's just my honest opinion. But I'm asking, should we be able to act responsibly as boxing fans and boxing purists to be able to get a Virgil versus Boots? Why not? Because the trend is, if it's a good fight, then we can run it back and do a rematch. And if it's, just that great, just like the Franco Maloney, we can get a trilogy. We had Gary Antonio, get a clash of heads like 15, 20 seconds into his fight, which I wanted to see because he was going to be gunning for the winner of the Casemiro Rigo. Now he has to dance with Emmanuel Rodriguez again because they had unfinished business. All in all, I enjoyed my evening of boxing. There's been a lot of things floating around this week about how the fight between Fury and Wilder is, pretty much it's not gonna happen. Which I have did a video called "The Trilogy Was on Bambi Legs."
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
Probably about a month and a half ago. And I didn't never believe that Fury was actually going to get back in the ring. We've had, some news about T.O. pushing forward and doing a dance with Kambosos. We don't know what's going on with Rolly and Devin. Rolly was looking like he had egg on his face and calling out Dev, and Dev was basically like, where you at? Had Rolly's face on the milk carton on the shirt. And then you had a couple sources saying that Rolly actually signed the contract after rumors had been coming out that Floyd said, I can't make Rolly fight Devin if, I can't make him. So people were saying that now Rolly is a duck. We had Bud responding to the victory of Virgil. We had a back and forth between Spence and Bud. Spence had to pull out of the Pac fight. Pac getting ready to fight Ugas. Bud, I guess chiming in on Spence. It's a whole lot of stuff going on in boxing. And finally we had Canelo supposedly being back in negotiations with Caleb. And my whole thing is, and I've been finding a lot of the conversation or dialogue, which I aim for when I'm having discussions in some of these channels in the chat section, is for somebody to explain to me, because I'm not anti. I'm not going to be the protagonist. I'm not going to be the devil's advocate guy all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's just if I have a opinion that differs from you, I'm going to ask a question. And my question was, if Ginger could get 40 plus million, his Hennessy deal, the Mexican rights of the show, he could get one-sided rematch clause, one-sided injury clause. If he can get all of that elsewhere, why did he come back to the table? All I ever get is, you're a hater. I even had somebody say, I went to your channel and I seen your biased channel, blah blah. I'm like, well, you didn't go and look at my videos. Couldn't have calling me biased. And then you can't, in a snapshot with all the videos I got up, you can't in a snapshot claim that I'm biased. You're probably reading titles, and some of the titles can be misleading if you don't actually hear what I'm talking about on my video. But that leads me to myth number 1 in the 5 myths of boxing. The face of boxing. The truth is, there is no face of boxing. In today's era, whenever Tyson can come off the bench and explode, go viral, set records, make multiples of millions, more than any present boxer right now, coming off the bench out of the blue. If he can do it at any point in time, the face in boxing should be able to do it. If Floyd can actually box a YouTuber and make more money than any boxer presently fighting, guaranteed, there is no face of boxing. There were different times when the torch was getting passed. I know coming up, it might have been, at one point in time, it might have been Tyson. At one point in time, it might have been Roy Jones. At one point in time, it might have been Oscar De La Hoya. It might have been Ali. It might have been, I can go on and on. It might have been Sugar Ray. Right now, there is no face of boxing. When you measure up all of the asterisks you have to put beside certain people's name about how they maneuver with short camps and all these crazy demands, A side, which I know is part of the business, it's part of the game, but like, a history of being a drug cheat, I mean, that can't be the face of boxing. By any other standard, nobody else is going to be able to stand and proclaim that. I mean, we actually had that even with the president, when people were saying, that's not my president. It's like, yes, it is. That's your president, but by the standards and the activities and some of the things that, have come out and some of the behavior that has been present, I mean, people didn't feel like that was their president. Just like people don't feel like that whoever the person that they claiming is the face of boxing is the face of boxing. There is no face of boxing. We have some potential of some young people that's rising, that have the potential, that's barking up and going through the right path, but you got to combine legacy. You got to combine the entertainment factor. You got to include, giving the fans what they want, pleasing the majority of the fans. I would say if you please 80% of the fans, I think you would be doing a good job. But you can't please everybody. I think T.O. was on the rise of being a face of boxing, but when I looked up the highest boxers searched, it was Fury, Pacquiao, T.O., and one other person. It wasn't Ginger, it wasn't Spence, it wasn't Wilder, it wasn't Tank. So I challenge anybody to go look it up. And right now, there's no clear-cut face of boxing. If Tyson came back right now, he would be the face of boxing. Right now. If Floyd came out and said, hey, look, Earl, when your eye get better, me and you going to dance. They would, whoever won that would be the face of boxing. But as far as pay-per-view buys, if you want to, if you want to put it on that, then who people claim is the face of boxing isn't the face of boxing. When you go through legacy and all that, that's why Tank get a knock, because people don't feel like it's legacy fights, but he's putting butts in stands. He has I heard the face of boxing, or whoever they claim was the face of boxing, was almost walked him out in this last fight. The face of boxing now is a collective face of up-and-coming and proven fighters, and fighters who have been able to capture the most diehard fans. Sometimes these fans go overboard and they over-embellish, and they allow other fighters to take criticism, and they also criticize other fighters for the same thing they allow their favorite fighter to get away with. So I'm going to stand on my sword. I'm going to say emphatically that right now there is no face of boxing. If you have any rebuttals, or you don't agree, or you have anything to substantiate other than just fact, other than just opinions and baseless opinions at that, with no logic, you don't want to have a good dialogue about it, then just keep your opinion. Stand on your opinion. But it's my claim that there is no true face of boxing right now. Do we need one? Who knows? Body work.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
My word, and I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
As you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
I do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter, like I said before. Ain't no safety in the clock, so